Okay, Inspector Fox will call ourselves to order. The public hearing is September the 5th. Excuse me. Chris, I guess you have the opening remarks there in front of you, or?
Yeah, just quickly, thank you very much. Good evening. As part of our amendments to our planning documents, public hearing is a mandatory component. So we're purpose of the meeting is to provide council information about the proposed amendments and provide council an opportunity to hear from any members of the public who want to make representation. I'll note that for the first item on the agenda, we also have held an information meeting. The last PAC meeting included an information component because we're amending both the municipal planning strategy and the land use bylaw together on the relating to the same property. So for the first item, this is kind of the second time round. So you have in front of you a report. I'll just go over it really quickly. These are lands of the town that have been deemed surplus to the town's needs, basically a portion of the visitor information center just beyond the pines and adjacent from the park. The town has subdivided the lands, and a portion of the lands have been retained where the VIC sits. The lands that we're talking about right now are, I'm going to say it's east, right? East of the town's VIC structure. The VIC and the town retained driveway, parking area. So these are lands on your left as you're going towards the ferry terminal. The lands kind of rise up. We're on a bit of a corner there on Shore Road. And then as we head towards the ferry terminal, we've got a mix of commercial and residential, primarily on your west or left side. The property itself is fairly good size, 1.3 hectares, almost 3.5 acres, and has an extensive frontage on Shore Road, 430 odd feet. So very workable, large property. The terrain does slope up from the road up, but otherwise tree cover and generally lot very similar to most of the properties on that side of Shore Road. These lands are designated in the municipal planning strategy as commercial, and they're zoned commercial resort. The town's property was kind of being abutting the Pines property and being at that time devoted entirely to visitor information activities, were kind of considered together with the commercial resort policy set. Now that they're not required by the town, in order for them to be developed, they need to be, for a purpose other than a commercial resort, they need to be redesignated and rezoned. And that's what this application is. So the proposal is to take this 3 acres of land out of the commercial designation and the commercial resort zone and redesignate them to residential for residential use in the long term. And the zone that applies to residential activity in this area is the Residential Comprehensive Development District. So two or three things. Town property no longer required for current use and deemed surplus to facilitate development other than commercial resort activity. We need to change the designation in the zone, and that's what's before us tonight.
Okay. This will be over quite quickly, Chris. We don't have
Okay.
tonight. Any comments from the public? Nope. Do you want to talk about B?
Sure. Yeah, or you want to make a motion on I'll close that issue and then speak with or with respect to Third Avenue.
Okay.
Sorry.
We'll make a motion. Well, Tom wants to speak to it.
I just want to put on the record that there were no written submissions either. So and they are two separate things, so we do have to have separate motions for each of them.
When this is at council.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we close the hearing and then go to council. Yep. Okay, so the second item B, again, lands of the town that have been deemed surplus to town's requirements. These lands are on Third Avenue at more or less at Mount Street. And they're a portion of the lands that everybody would know as know or be used by the Digby Learning Association on Mount. So it's the lands behind the actual building and the parking area. These lands are designated right now residential, but they're zoned institutional to be consistent with the Digby Learning Association use and occupancy of the lands. So again, subdivision has occurred. There's a separate lot existing now, relatively small, like a lot of the other properties in the area, about 10,000 square feet with about 80 feet of frontage on Third. So the lands that we're talking about don't go through to Mount Street. Lands not required for the Digby Learning Association and not required for other purposes of the town. So in order to facilitate development, the proposal is to leave the residential designation, so that doesn't need to change, but to rezone them from institutional to residential low density. So we have our RLD zone, which allows a number of different options, but 1-2 unit development. The existing development in the area is very similar to it, either single family, some semi-detached maybe, or converted residences that have multiple occupancy. So the proposed zoning will enable development that is very similar to what we see adjacent across the street and further down Third Avenue. So the proposal generally has been looked at in terms of compatibility with the adjacent properties, infrastructure and servicing requirements, traffic, the ability to provide for emergency response, potential impact on town finances, and all of those have been assessed and identified as being consistent with the strategy and in the town's best interest. So the proposal is to rezone to residential low density from institutional to facilitate future residential development on these lands.
Any thoughts, questions from the public on this one? No, quiet group tonight, Chris.
Yeah, I see.
And then, as CEO said, there's no written submissions on this change either. And I don't think there's anybody even inquiries. No. Okay, any discussion on it before we make some motions? No, even we're quiet tonight, so.
There you go.
Definitely. So we're gonna need two motions we want to put forward. Yeah, we'll put the motion to take the council. Yeah. Do it,
No, they get canceled. We have to have the hearing, close the hearing.
And then,
Council.
yeah.
Gets back.
yeah,
Right.
and then we'll get.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Get the way of the land use bylaws, I mean, that be amended to rezone land, that would be, lands that would be at Shore Road could 303-82816 from commercial resort to residential comprehensive development district.
You can, but it's already on the agenda, council.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that well-worded motion.
He's just practicing.
We've been practicing all week.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, thank you, Chris. There's no.
Yeah.
There's no
Okay.
discussion, so.
No, that's great. I think good move on the town's part in terms of maximizing the opportunity for lands that you guys don't need anymore. So good luck with it. I hope you guys see some good development out of it.
Thanks. So, and if you have nothing to do tonight on a nice sunny evening, you can sit here and watch the rest of the meeting.
Oh, I got a few things backed up. It's my first day back after 2 weeks of vacation. So I said to Tom this morning, I'm wading through a tsunami of stuff that's been piling up. So I have my work cut out, Ben. That's a lovely invitation. And normally I'd probably do it, but I'll just get back to trying to surface.
Okay, well, thank you very
Great.
much.
Okay, thanks. Take care.
Do we have a motion to adjourn? Oh, yeah. Do we have a motion to adjourn the public hearing? Seconder? All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Okay. We'll call the regular meeting of the September council to order. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? Yeah. Deadline's coming quickly. 2030 is going to be. Any others? Good. Okay, we have a motion to approve the agenda with acceptability. We'll add that in 5-3.
Do you want to actually add one for Warcraft, just for the two cents volunteering down there and putting it on some of their meetings?
Yeah. 5-4, Warcraft. Anything else? No? Motion to approve the agenda with the additions? So moved. Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. So the delegation presentation, they all left. The public hearing is over. I'm here. We have minutes of August the 8th. That sounds bad to say that. August the 8th. Summer go. Everybody had a chance to go through those? If no errors or omissions, can we have a motion to approve? Motion to approve. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any nays? Any business arising from those minutes? So we'll move right into the CN report.
Okay. So August is another busy month.
Yeah.
The Digby Food Bank, so the agreement still has not been executed for the rental. However, we have received checks for August and September.
Okay.
So, I did have a discussion with the manager, and he says, you're gonna get paid, you don't need no signed agreement, blah, blah, blah. So, he's got a copy of it. And where we'll probably be looking at it in the next few months again. It should be signed. Yeah. 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 For us to have really take it to.
Well, Sherry is a little better.
Yeah, I know.
I did have a call from a citizen. Had some concerns. So I just said, we'll meet up for coffee and I'll bring you up Steve. They want to help. Yeah, that was last week. Okay. Parking enforcement. So the billing rate for the commissioner to provide parking enforcement. The downtown is $24.85 per hour plus HST. So at this point, I think that
we have currently we have a system to be helping with downtown. It's not to be all in all, but she's fitting into her schedule and she can keeps an eye on things. She's got a pretty good handle on it by law enforcement officer, so stay with people.
Yep.
Mention there to accept this form of stuff.
I had a comment made by someone who lives in Conway that does a lot of community service by picking up garbage along the sidewalk out there. So they thought we're doing very well. Yep. And the garbage department.
So tax sale, so all tax accounts that were in a tax sale position have been brought up to current or tax sale not necessary for March 2024.
Does that include our sovereign citizens?
Yes, it does.
Oh, wonderful.
Wow. However, all the dollars written on, never been written on the check.
Clear?
Yeah. So, active transportation plan, so some dates and times of the future active transportation plan sessions have been confirmed with Jim Scott. So the first one, Sunday, September 10th, that has actually been canceled. Jim has canceled that, and instead of meeting, I think people was emailing them asking for any what we.
Yeah, well, I couldn't understand why the Pacific group had the privilege of meeting them. Anyway, I wasn't.
Yeah. I think basically it was because he found the pressure of the names. So just trying to make things happen. Because town staff were going to attend. We certainly didn't apply pressure to him to do that. That was his idea. Okay. So it was did not come to that. So on September 11th at noon, we're going to meet with the previous assembly, active transportation stakeholder group at the town hall. So these are include dark staff, some various active runners, walkers, and bicyclists, and people active in trails. So he's met with them 2 or 3 times. Then at 6 p.m., we have special committee of the whole camera meeting with town council members. And Wednesday, October 11th, is the community open house at the station. And it's being hosted by Trace Consultants, and he does have someone, communication specialist, who will be facilitator for that. So you won't have to try to be facilitator and consultant at the same time.
Very difficult with the people.
So then Monday, 16th October, the presentation of the final plan to town council and to the committee of the whole. So we accept and recommend to council to accept the whole form. The last item in the report is the utility fire truck. The RFP to supply the utility fire truck has been placed on the performance way. It will also be posted on the town website and Facebook page. Closing date is September 14th. The RFP is for the supply of the truck only and does not include anything separate. And one thing that is, I was asked bring up, was the architect report on 53 Main Street on residential, going to, I guess, looking to know what direction council is thinking of heading. So we're gonna meet on this subject separately to review this proposal and sort of give direction on which way, or are we just gonna wait until I get the money in the DJF fund housing affordability?
I think some detailed discussion. Yeah. Because I've been thinking about it, 1.2 to renovate, 1.3 to build. But we have the food bank in the middle there.
Yeah.
Well, then we have a lack of concrete units. It would, yeah. So then maybe now by the waste street, but that's up. Yeah, I think just a session, maybe after, I don't know, second one or one right after committee of the whole or something, we just sit down and have a brainstorming or sometime in the middle. What's everybody like to do?
We should sit down and discuss it, maybe go over what potential funding's out there for it, because it will greatly influence what we, what we do.
If we don't get anything from that. I talked briefly to Chris, I talked to, our MLA entity just briefly about, said we'd send off the project so they're aware of it, especially Chris, because he's an Ottawa. So.
Yeah, Joe was quite happy to hear that we'd actually applied for funding and stuff like that. She indicated that other areas may not have within the region here, which kind of disappointed it. So it seemed quite open to working with us and helping wherever they could. Of course, that's the obvious answer is, of course, we're going to work with you.
That's also prevents money. So do you want to do it? We'll sit around, talk, or yeah, can you need this? Yeah, right after one of our regular meetings, we get up to you.
Next Monday night, we've got the
Accessibility.
transportation, active transportation thing. I'm on maybe on that.
Yeah, the last one, he wasn't, well, wouldn't have been.
Yeah, but there's no public to come.
We can do it after that. Do it after that.
Be able to fit that in,
Sure.
that there, and if not, if we at least start it, maybe we can finish it up. But next month, the next Monday night, we need a whole afterwards. Right?
So that'll be our plans. The next Monday night after he does his part, we'll do our part of help.
Yeah.
Good. We can stay up with that.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Good. One report. Thank you, Bill.
Just a question on the utility fire truck. Did they just decide to go with the standard truck and then we'll figure out the accessories later, or they couldn't decide what they wanted and they?
Well, they basically they had the specs of the chassis, the truck itself. So that's what they want. As far as the other things like internally, they want to know how much the actual chassis costs, so they know how much they got left. Just under the budget to put for the cap and other things. And I think there's still a little bit of disagreement between a couple of parties there that on whether everything has to be brand new or whether stuff they've got reused. So
it's hard to get a chassis. They got the agreement on the new replace old number 2, 22, because I knew it was number 2. And they're going to have a job getting a chassis before they build a fire truck.
Yeah.
Such the same way with the truck. Yeah, it's getting hard to.
Anyway, that closes on 15th. So see.
Speaking of vehicles, have we heard anything from the system or anything like that?
just, if you haven't heard that yet.
No.
I was out Friday to get some work done. I said, I'm looking for a plug-in hybrid for skate. They said, there's none out there yet available, and one that we get is going to the town. Okay. Yeah, you know, something we know. And that was Sunday, it's not gonna be that we can't get it right now. Like, there are all kinds of new weapons, not in Canada. Said, we'll get one, but. So the only one we got coming is coming here.
Yeah.
I was chatting with, well, not chatting, the guy, the EV site for Nova Scotia bought a plug-in hybrid, he's drove it 1,000 kilometers. He got it, he put 50 kilometers of gas use. So if you use it right, if these guys use it right, you substantially reduce your gas. You run around the city roads, see, you know, yeah, okay. Committee of the whole. So we agreed to sponsor an event, someone put that forward. Council, spend that money.
Make a motion, sponsorship of $50 for apartment building.
That's not moving, like, so that.
Yeah, Anthony Fund. Although he, just lost things too.
There's them double.
Well, yeah. Well,
That one,
yeah.
that thing's a good damage over the weekend by vendor. It's about $1,300. That's that.
A vendor drove over leaving.
Yeah. That's including cost of the bench plus the shipping, right, and tax. Yeah. Around $50. So, we've had discussions with Forfrat. They know who the vendor is, so. I think we know who the vendor is. We'll be trying to get restitution. Hopefully the vendor.
Is it George's hot dogs?
I don't really know what they're called.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Sorry. There's a barbecue, we wouldn't heard that. Okay, all those in favor of that one, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? None. Approval of the administrative policy asset retirement obligations policy. That's a mouthful. Discussed that at the last committee of the whole, so we have a motion to approve it here. It's a motion anyway. Seconded.
1 second.
Any discussion on the administrative policy asset retirement obligation policy? If none, all those in favor say aye. Any nays? None. So the Housing Accelerator Fund Action Plan, that's what Tom was just discussing, and we're going to get together detail, but we need to accept the plan so that all the funding agencies know that we've approved the plan, that we discuss it in detail.
I will gladly read that.
Yeah.
Second that. We already sent that in, right?
Yeah, but we have to have a record that we did it, so.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's
Yes.
sort of pending in our application is that confirmation the council actually approved the plan that is included in the grant application.
It would be wonderful if the federal government sent us some money for this. All those in favor of this, say aye. Any nays? None. Big Beer Tourism, just,
Minutes are in your
Yep.
package. The biggest concern was on how much they got for the levy.
and they asked for 12, they got the 12. That's just,
Representative on the committee said, I'm gonna verify before I tell you what it is, so I'll let you know next.
no, okay. Yeah. I'll tell you, we had the marketing group I said I'm a voting member and the district's a voting member, but I'll tell you the four, from industry and citizens had a lot of hard questions. I thought they were just a little bit too hard, but it's new. They asked a lot of hard questions. They demanded a number of things at a couple meetings, and that responded eventually with what they were comfortable with. So it wasn't given away first. No, I was actually a little uncomfortable with some of the questions that the marketing committee, the non-council members were asking, but they asked them and they got their answers. So it's good. So I think they're going to keep on top. You think, Tom? I think. Yeah.
We also met in the shows that she was going to meet with me to discuss something with the old DIC building for your monitors, remoting the area and stuff. So she's putting it back.
Just noticed that they had some of their damaged boxes and magazines that they had leaked water. Yeah.
And you,
Yeah.
I still haven't had a chance to find out what it was, unless it was, there at storage.
Yeah.
Portion. And then may have been on the cement floor, and then may have been some water from all the rain that came in. That's what my guesstimate is, but I'm not,
She said something about pallets on ground or something, so maybe it's just seepage.
yeah, I think that's what it was. It wasn't coming through the walls or roof.
No,
it came through the roof. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that type of, and actually, now I haven't had a chance to sort of confirm or deny the actual, I haven't noticed yet.
Were they there all winter or they were new? No, they shouldn't have. They were published in the spring. Yeah, so it might have soaked up moisture.
Well, the thing is, if they were sitting on the cement itself, they'll absorb, that's got to absorb, bring moisture up through the cement and into the tanks, right? So, yeah. So they could very well have done, that could have been an issue, right? So.
Good. Any other questions for Mike or anybody? If done, we'll move into correspondence. Got a letter, a couple letters actually. Barrington, first one there is from new fuel surcharge. I'm certainly sure they have seen a huge increase in their fuel use this summer because of all the fires down there. Are we interested in responding to it same way?
I like the idea, but my question would be what currently exists in terms of rebates for spots like firehouse with respect to fuel. Is there anything that's out there? And if not,
I don't think there's anything other than what they do here through the town, because all the bills come through the town. Yeah, there's nothing.
although there doesn't, I guess, back to the town.
Support the effort.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we do track fire department fuel and stuff separate from, any other fuel that our public works fuel. Right, so it's easy for us to say this is improved that we spent X number of dollars at bought this many liters of diesel fuel for fire department. So basically, I think what we're saying is just want the carbon tax, the exemption from carbon tax for emergency first responder.
Yeah,
makes sense.
I don't know, carbon tax, like, personally, we're going to see rebates on carbon tax, but it doesn't apply to commercial.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I haven't looked that hard at it.
If the idea is for commercial to be incentivized to use less energy.
Fuel. Yeah, that's what it's all about.
It's such a
Backwards program. Doesn't, you're not going to get people off the fuel. That's actually
No, I listened to the debate on CBC radio. There's 100 odd countries in the world that have it. U.S. doesn't have it. But they pay, it's a very tiny portion of getting you to net zero. Very tiny portion. I'm not gonna have a huge impact to. So big question why it did. So we just give direction and I'll draft something up. Yeah.
Scratch up municipality variance and then
Change the letter.
Leatherhead.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, you don't need to reinvent it all. And you don't need to make it long, because ministers, don't write long letters. They like to have a briefing with the front.
So they'll send this letter and a page from us that says Deb.
Yeah, exactly.
Just make sure we change the logo on the top, change the address.
Get up there, the left that one time.
Copy and paste.
Yeah. Okay, next letter is about, coastal clam flats, recreational clamming. Yeah. Anything here, the application is permanently closed unless the licensed clammers and they come out of one facility of down there. Detoxification. So,
Always the case, but.
no, when we put the new wastewater plant in Smith's Cove, because that was due to new regulations out of the US, was I asked them, now that we've gone to this watering lagoon type system, gone from mechanical system with the clam flats reopened. People that were here, no. So why?
Leave the definition of what the animal is. It's filtering it. It doesn't indicate it.
Yeah. But anyway, I understand what they're trying to say, give people an opportunity to. Food
Well,
security.
I mean, if you're desperate enough to cleanse the beach or regulations.
You can throw it in the bucket of water for a few days. So do we want to, some kind of letter the same way? Think it's a good idea?
Can't hurt.
Yeah, it would, the only part, but it does address it here, is you suddenly open it up to all recreational clammers. You get commercial clammers doing it for a living, but it does say here obtaining licenses.
But you see commercial climbers on recreation beach too, and that's not very.
Oh, yeah. No. I see planning my 24 for sale, $4,000 or $5,000 for the families too. Okay, we can. Probably another one where you can just kind of pull information through and send it off.
Artificial intelligence.
Yeah, playing that all the weekend is just amazing what that can do.
It is.
Yeah. Okay, next is turning the tide.
I love recognizing the difference.
No, I don't understand. Nope. Nope. Yeah. Integrated use site. Is that around cultures and race, or is it going to have one use center for? Well, I mentioned 2 or 3 communities here. Could we invite her to come and talk in detail?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, Eric would come.
Yeah. They're asking more than one thing. They want
Yeah.
a representative.
Yeah.
That's one thing. And then they may or may not seek a letter for support. And then they also may or may not want to know if we have potential locations in our municipal unit.
Yeah, so that's 3 or 4 may not. So yeah, maybe we just email her and ask her.
Yeah.
Come in and talk to you.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing. Okay, we'll get an email off here. Send an email. Gotta give something to Leslie to do. We get the boss calling there.
Look, if we gave Leslie a pair of scissors and a couple pieces of letter, I think we'd have the other 2 letters done for her.
That's all that, right?
The goal there.
Okay, that's the last correspondence. We'll move into new business. First thing on the agenda is the second final reading of the Indiana LUB amendment. York Road and Third Avenue. Start a public hearing. In the public hearing, there was no written submissions or public submissions, oral submissions, so.
So now can I move that
Yes.
the town of Digby amend the municipal plan to sterilized future land use map to redesignate land out of Digby and Shore Road at 303-2816 for commercial or residential, and that Schedule A land use bylaw coding map be amended to rezone land of Digby at Shore Road, PA 303-82816 from commercial resort to residential comprehensive development district.
Is that how you like it, Tom? Sure. Okay. Any discussion on it? We do have an offer on the land, it would be contingent on this, so we agree, then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? None. Third Avenue bid. I want to put that forward. That's again, the result of institutional and residential low density.
I'll move Digby amend Schedule A of the land use bylaws on the map to be amended to rezone lands of Digby at 3rd Avenue, PID 303-82808 from institutional to residential low density.
Second, any discussion on that? No offer or interest yet on that, Tom. I'm surprised that someone put that a little rental over there. All those in favor of that motion say aye. Any nays? NSFM conference, November the 7th, November the 10th. And I think today is into the
Very well could be interesting for everyone.
yeah, into the early bird or something.
Yeah.
I think I saw something when I just get in here.
You got way in May.
Oh, hey, man.
I haven't seen anything on that.
Okay. This is NSFN conference. It's in Halifax. Leslie just booked some rooms in case people are interested in going. That's why you see 7th to the 10th firm with Leslie right away this week. So if we don't need the room, she can free them up. She had to book them to get a discount by a certain date. So she hadn't done it last week or whatever week it was.
The problem is if you don't book the days at the email, you don't always get it.
So think about, look at the dates and maybe confirm with Leslie this week if we can go. It's, what is it, Thursday or Wednesday to Friday, noon? Yeah. Yeah.
It's at the West.
At the West.
I think I'm off that week, so I am on Just figure out what thing is the most important for me to get information from, and I'll go learn things.
The meals.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that.
They serve a pretty good breakfast lunch too today. Yeah. That's always sponsored by somebody. That's free. Sort of. Okay.
And then use your registration to be for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, then if I go up, I'll go up in the morning, stay, and then big ticket a day.
Well, look at it and let Leslie know. Okay, LI3 is accessibility. Yeah.
During solid days on the Digby Marina boardwalk that goes from New Washington straight down to the state, we had a cable across and a water line across, and they used the big pads that cheap vehicles could ride over, right? Which were fine, were great, until we had somebody in a wheelchair try and get over. And just the way they were going and how they had pitched forward his wheelchair. So he was okay. Everybody watched him see it. Fine. And I looked at it and I got talking, realized there is no way to get off of that wooden walkway from the street to the end where the stage is. And there's a parking space for a handicap right the very first one on that side.
Yeah.
So there's no way to get, there's no ramp off of that
Yeah, there should be,
Yeah.
yeah, and there should be a ramp, the one that goes across in behind the old, restaurant, or Shoreline Restaurant. There should be a ramp there, so you can go in the center.
Right.
Right, it hasn't gotta be a ramp.
No, because the building got back.
Yeah,
Yeah, the other thing we think about, the other thing with those, pads that cover the cable, maybe it would be a lot of work to just cut a slot where you can lift it up and slide the cables under them.
Well, that's what they are. They're plastic. And
Yeah, but I'm thinking our wooden deck that has
Oh, I see what you.
tubing, like PCV pipe or something, where they can just fish cables through. Instead of having those plastic,
Make it permanent.
make it permanent, and it's just 6-inch PC pipe under it. Anyway, yeah, there is a name right there, I've never thought about it.
I mean, you could, if the heat didn't make it somewhat, it could be removable for You could take it out, so when they plow snow and stuff, it wouldn't be in the way, but then, and gone out to from April until December or whatever. It is December, you could.
But there are still handicapped people who are trying to get around.
Yeah.
Probably the easiest thing would be to pave a little bit of a very gradual
Yeah.
pavement,
Yeah.
something maybe plywood.
Yeah, because you either gotta go over to the old courier building, back to the street, get on that ramp.
Or the very corner, there's a station, because you can get off there, but you gotta go in and then come over that ramp. Yeah.
Again, that leads to another, if somebody with mobility issues, which I helped somebody up on the stage Sunday night, they can't get up on the stage. There's 2 steps.
There is a plan for that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
For accessibility to the 57 stage.
okay.
And, I think it got delayed because of the hedge lumber shortage. And, so, took it late, trying to get the other part of the boardwalk finished before the festival started, right? So, but there is a plan to put, a wheelchair ramp, for people to get better access. And it should be for even the bands and everything else, so that it's setting up, right? We want equipment and people with accessibility issues.
Yeah, my knees are bad before I had it done, walking up to a 6-inch curve. That miles have been 100-foot step because I'm standing there, how do I get down off that curve? There's no way that much. So somebody far worse than me would have a challenge. Yeah, good ideas. Next, Warcraft.
I guess I'll just say that it seems like they had a relatively good year. They made some changes in terms of pricing for registration to try to limit issues that they had patched. They also tightened up their CAC pro that a fair bit. And I guess it's not official at this point in time, but it seems like they had a better handle on all that, and their money's all very well accounted for. And I guess being a witness to their meetings for the agreement that the councilor Sonia had. First meeting was a little rough. They seemed like they were about to waste a whole bunch of money on something, spending more on picking one group over another, and didn't really give me a lot of confidence. But a few of the board members spoke up, and they did not waste a bunch of money. And since then, they've had ideas on how do we generate more and what can we do better. And they seem to work quite well together on things this year. And I believe their revenue for vendors for the 50/50 under registration are all up. And the new individuals they hired to actually do the organizing of the whole event seem to do a very good job. Sponsorships will be one area that could probably improve for next year and maybe find a little bit more in terms of the entertainment value of folks that are here. But overall, I was fairly impressed with how they did it, and well, they managed to hopefully bring everything into the point where it's going to be a net profitable event for them, and they'll have more money to spend next year instead of just constantly putting their hand out and asking for money to cover their losses. So, yeah, overall, I'd say it went very well. And for anyone who was downtown or anywhere near it, I'm sure that I'm going to say more bikes this year than what they were last year.
Saturday was
Yeah, and I think the only main traffic incident they did have someone who lives in the town who flipped one of the volunteers because they decided they wanted to get through one of the checkpoints a little bit faster. And Larry went and had a conversation with them about patience and not, hitting people with your vehicle.
Yeah, the end number, I talked to the police every night because I was over here, and they just kind of kept me up to date on as they would have come with any incidents that they were not the, but they care. The usual locals.
Yeah, I'm told they had the lockup full of just folks who needed to dry off a little bit.
Yeah.
For the night.
Friday night, they seem
Yeah, one of them started to do a pop wheelie right here and flipped it over in front of the police officers. Right there, yeah, right there. I watched it. Right there, they just walked over. The only two restaurants I'm aware of, both had record sales and more sales this year than they did even 5 or 6 in the big rally was. It's the sales, but it varies from point to point.
2 restaurants down made a difference. The last 2 restaurants.
Yeah.
Last year's.
Yeah.
It did really seem this year that North Park Company, Offshoot Nash, and Golden Day had a great year because it's true that the first one hold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I had conversations over the weekend about how much money town hall makes off the rally, and I said it cost you as a taxpayer money to put this festival on. And they continually think that we get the vendors fee, that we get 50, it just doesn't matter what we put that statement in, it doesn't matter.
The only big complaint is the restaurant closing. Yeah. I would say that
Well,
I would say I didn't actually have somebody complain about that. It experienced some grumbling on the street to go somewhere and it's closed. Right. But the thing is, this is
Knock, you have to get it down at like 4 o'clock Sunday. Yeah. Last 2 hours, even on Saturday. Last 2 hours.
well, the only two that I talked, well, actually 3. I talked to them over here. They had to close their kitchen by 9 because you're going to be 2 hours in here. Without that packed. So they closed the kitchen. They served right up. They were open till 1 o'clock, but it takes that long. And the other one downtown said the same thing. They just would not be able to get there.
The vendors, they should stay open.
Yeah, the hot dogs. Yeah.
They should stay open.
Yeah.
They're there to feed them, really.
Yeah.
And a lot of the vendors were food related.
Yeah, they were, so the vendors could stay open.
But that's up to the vendor, I guess, unless they reach an agreement, say you work for this time.
I guess a few of the comments made were if they could break up and maybe do, like if they had food trucks, put some food trucks at, the mall, but, spread it out so that not everybody's congested.
what they want to be.
Yeah.
All the vendors want to be in.
Well, we were talking before the meeting. You go to Laconia, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's a lot longer because they get 100,000. That's the same thing, hot dog stands and pots and pans of toilet paper and leather. So, it's the same thing. But it looked good. I tracked it later. I had a message downtown today. I had a message from somebody said, on Becker or Church Street, they said it went really well. That as well. So, but it was an hour getting into town Sunday day. Well, Mike,
It was an hour today.
yeah, I didn't know they were doing that, I got stuck into that.
Yeah.
But Corporal Mike, did he make a statement, he'd never seen that many cars leaving town all at once?
Yeah, he said that on the walkie system.
Yeah. Yeah, cool, but we made it through.
I mean, as far as what I seen when we were at the weekend and what I had to deal with the weekend. Friday it was traffic around the post office.
Yeah.
So, we got that rectified and got a commitment at a warfare alley to sit down and, so that for Friday, make sure that there's total accessibility to the post office for Friday until 5 o'clock. So,
No, just business wise for us, we had to change our whole schedule to try and get this.
Yeah, and I don't know, the post office won't let people use parking lot. Oh, and you go to other post offices, they have a parking lot.
Yeah, they're using practice.
Yeah, and this one here, no, that's not, so, well, maybe there's a way they can channel them through the parking lot and then back up Church Street or something, I don't know, but I did see one go around there.
that was the plan that we devised, because the big thing was the mail trucks coming and going, right? And, so we had it so that the mail trucks come down Warwick, up Montague, Water, up Church Street, go in their back driveway off of Church Street, and then wait on Water and go over, even though it was one way on Friday, because it was divided, they could go to a certain extent, and they could go up, back out that way. So that worked. And, until 5 o'clock.
I don't know if it's a post office policy or what, but even the Scott Days and Boston Bash asked to use their parking lot for the weekend because there's nothing there. And they flat out said no.
Was that
We did with the Burner Park. The Burner Park, park there on Sunday.
Yes.
So what we keep, and then they looked
was that coming from the staff, or was it postmaster mistress, or was it coming from
They don't know.
that's where maybe I can inquire.
Yeah. I think they're going to ask for the young people if it's a policy.
Right, if you'll park there tonight.
Yeah. Well, yeah, some people do.
Yeah.
You see them sitting there.
The Irving Park,
No, a lot of cars.
building there, that was awesome.
Yeah, a lot of cars.
We were talking about maybe next year live streaming parade, and that the steps of the post office would be a perfect vantage point because you've got shade and you're shooting against the beautiful water back.
Yeah.
A few times that I was a judge, there was a group of us judging floats. We were there at the post office.
Okay.
Yeah, that's quite a while ago. That's where we sat. I don't know now, we had just chairs on the lawn there or something, but anyway, we were there. Okay, but overall, I think it's pretty successful. The banks will tell you, there's a lot of money flowing through their branches.
So, the other thing is, I got commitment from Rick, all right, manager, for that. We are going to have a DJ meeting, not the one that Rick Galvin Reno, they had all the teams. But it is going to be basically warfare rallies and their traffic people and the town, and Bruce will be involved for Reno and involved for public works, and just sit down and say what were any issues that we had, and what can we do to improve it going down the road. So,
Great idea.
And he also said that the committee has asked him to, in fact, I think that's what, I mean, he, as far as stress on myself, and as, anything that came up that had to go to water, it was handled, satisfactory, right? And pretty good order, right?
And this was my quietest round.
Yeah.
I usually, well, all of them, I'd be running somebody, I would get calls. I didn't hear from several. I usually get a call in January from one individual. I did hear about the rally in January. And then he calls me for the rally, and didn't get that call this year. And just a couple emails, I think Tom got the same emails. But my phone, quiet, long 24 hours a day.
Yeah, I'll say Rick was fantastic to work with.
Yeah.
Very calm about everything,
Yeah.
regardless of what was going on, except for when we went to the bank to drop a deposit, and the night deposit key would not work. And we were standing there with the largest deposit we had during the entire Fort Bragg rally, the deposits we dropped. And luckily, I looked across the road, and one of my employees, one with keys to the branch and to the spare keys for night deposit, was walking across the road. Well, they couldn't hear me when I yelled at them, so, and I didn't have their phone number with me, so I called one of the employees' number I knew, and they gave me their number, and I texted them, and they came back and got a key and dropped it. But for a second there was fear on his face that we had to walk that very large deposit back through the 500,000 people we already walked through once.
Now, the comment you made about whether they become self-sustainable, when Jill Bolster and I met in the work around it, met with the deputy manager of tourism or whatever it's called now, we had a meeting here to try to get money to pay for him for the next 2 years. And the comment was, I think the rally said that they'd like to become self-sustainable, and the deputy minister said, there isn't a festival in the province that's self-sustainable, so if you come up with a formula, let us know. They made it, they're the ones funding it. So. Anyway, they got it for 2 years, so. Yeah.
That's always the biggest problem is that getting the funding approval so late.
And then you have a short time.
Yeah.
But this was a special meeting just to get. Ask the MLA how important it was. They asked me how important it was. We get the same message. Anyway, you're good. Okay. Can we have a motion to go in camera?
Second.
All in favor of going in cameras? We're now in.
Motion for adjournment. No, we need.
Are we ready to go?
I am.
Okay. Second and that motion.